Diva hustle show. Motivate the glow. We get your more info. Flick to my head to toe.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in to the Diva Hustle Show. Today, our guest is Lorna, and she's an author. She wrote a story about what her book is called Kidnapped, about her husband that was kidnapped, that was working in Nigeria, right?
That's right, yes.
So, thanks, Lorna, for joining us. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and a privilege. I'm good. It's January. We all have plans. I don't know if we all have, but I have some plans. The new year brings new plans and ideas. So it's super exciting and trying to follow a diet. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I did go running a few times. So I'm trying to persevere, push through at least until February.
I know, right? You only got a couple more weeks of that, right?
For sure. Don't want to stop right now yet, and try and push it through to February.
So let's get into the story about your husband being kidnapped. And we want to say this is a real story, you know what I mean? So it was made up or anything. So take me back to the day you found out that he was kidnapped.
Yeah, this is, like you say, it's a real story. And even now, when I go through the book, I launched it a few months ago on Amazon, and obviously I had to proofread everything. And it really is like a movie. Even still today, I'm like, I can't believe what actually happened to us. But yeah, my husband is a sound engineer, so he works on big broadcasts, comms, and a sound engineer. So he does international sport games all over the world, and he's traveled all our married life. We've been married for 22 years, which is it's a long time. And I'm used to being like a semi-single mom, because he would go away for 3-4 months at a time, depending on what production he's on. So it wasn't strange for us that he went away often. Sometimes I couldn't reach him, I couldn't find him, didn't know if his plane had landed yet, because some remote countries there's not a lot of reception, phone reception and things. So we were quite used to this lifestyle. But just before he was about to fly to this specific production, it was this weird, funny heaviness in the air, and both of us had this weird feeling like he shouldn't go on this production. It's life.
Right.
We have 3 children.
Right.
He's a freelancer. There's no way he can't go.
Right.
He can't just say, no, thank you for the work.
Right.
We need the money. And I mean, there was no legit reason that we could give, like, why can't he go to work? He needed to work. So he obviously accepted, but we had a funny feeling. And even the day he flew out to Nigeria, we kept on holding each other. Funny enough, I mean, that was strange, because he'd done this so many times, flying out into Africa. And sometimes we didn't even find the time to say goodbye. I run my own business. I had a very large day spa aesthetic center and a wellness center in Melville in South Africa. And I had 3 small children, and I was working, different jobs actually at the same time. And he was flying in and out. But that day we hanged on to each other. I kissed him so many times. And even when he left, I called him. I'm like, wait. And, went again to the car and said goodbye. And it was strange. And we thought nothing of it. He left and, did his job. And but that specific morning, it was a Monday morning, 1st of March, 2010. So it's already, a few years ago.
A few years ago, yeah.
Yeah. And they just finished the soccer match in Nigeria, and he went back with a crew bus. They were going to fly out of Nigeria that day. And in Nigeria, they have lots of roadblocks, police roadblocks. So it's a common thing. So they stopped at one of these roadblocks with the crew bus. But all of a sudden, there was these guys next to the bus slamming the window right next to him, screaming at him, swearing, and telling him to get out the vehicle. And he was like, "What? This never happened in a roadblock. They do kind of walk around the car and check everything out, but this was strange." And the next thing he knew, there was a few guys with AK-47 guns, rocket launchers, and everything inside the bus, and they just dragged him out of the bus with force and threw him outside. And by then they'd also gotten a few cars that was also standing in line in a roadblock, and they pulled all the people out of the cars. Some of them were lying on their stomachs with their faces down on the ground. And he knew, okay, this was bad. You know, this is not a normal roadblock. And some of his colleagues were lying on the floor, and one of their phones rang in their pockets. And the guy next to him turned around and just shot a magazine into his body right there on the ground, and also shot his friend. He just shot until they could hear the bone break. Wow. So it was, you know, quite. He knew immediately, like, these guys were not playing around.
Yeah, absolutely. Was this his first time in Nigeria working, or has he been there several times?
He had been there several times.
Okay.
He had been in and out of Nigeria, Kenya, all over Africa, actually, all over the world. Germany, he did numerous Olympic Games everywhere. And yeah, he was in Nigeria often. In the beginning, they used to have armed protection. Okay. But I think, you know, the companies, as things go, there's not always enough funds to continue these things. And, you know, nothing really happened for a few years. Okay. So I think they kind of thought, oh, no, maybe it's not so dangerous. Right. And yeah, because Nigeria is a very dangerous place to go work in. And there are certain areas that, you know, are considered you shouldn't work there. But according to them, you know, this should have been fine. It was just a normal soccer game.
Wow.
So yeah, and anyway, so then he was taken. There was 10 other people with him, and they put them in a car, and then they started speeding down the roads. I think in Nigeria, there's not a lot of roads left. The tar has been broken up severely, so the roads are actually quite dangerous. So he said, you know, it was crazy how these guys were driving, because they were obviously very high on all kinds of different drugs, which, you know, he saw later on them taking, and they actually offered it to him as well.
Wow.
Wow. No, thank you. I think I'm scared enough.
Right. Like, I need to be high.
I don't think I'm going to be high and scared at the same time. It might be bad.
That's not good.
No. So, it was crazy how they were flying over these potholes and, you know, the dangerous roads. And they drove so badly that they rolled a couple of the cars and crashed them so badly that they had to hijack. They literally stopped, because there's all these cars. It's 55 rebels with 10 hostages. It's like a war zone. And then they would find real police blockades, you know, and the police would be shooting at them and they would be shooting back, and it's just bullets flying all across over them. You know, everybody, some people are dying, some people are getting shot, it's blood everywhere. So it was absolutely crazy, and they would literally just completely crash some of the cars, stop, hijack new cars. It's unthinkable.
So tell me, what was going on? So when you found out, how did you find out that your husband was kidnapped, and then they was holding him for ransom, right?
Yes. So the whole idea with these kidnappings are that they want to create as much fear as possible so that you can pay. It's all about money. It's a normal day job for them. They, you know, hijack and kidnap all these people, and then they want money. So what they do then is they phone the wife, or, you know, the family. In my case, they phoned me. And then they basically hold the phone next to my husband's mouth, and then they torture him severely. So they would take off his clothes and they would beat him with the flat side of a machete. It's a very big blade that they use in Africa to cut grass and things. So I would just be hearing these sounds of these beatings on his bare body, and every time him screaming, and it's not something that you hear. I can feel it. It really penetrates your whole body. The fear, the anxiety, that situation that he is literally begging me for his life, screaming, help me, please, Lorna, help me. And then he would like scream in a voice that I've never heard before. And he would say, they're going to kill me. And they would shoot the rebels and kill the phone. And I wouldn't know whether he's dead or alive or what's happened to him. And in those moments, you know, it is so hard to keep it together. Because I'm a mother, I am a wife, I have a business, I have people depending on me, and I have to continue, you know, with life as such, in the middle of this traumatizing, actually, event. And, you know, I didn't know how we were going to get him out, if he was still alive, if we were going to get him out. You know, all these thoughts run through your mind constantly. But it's in those times and in this event that I learned something extremely, extremely powerful, and I use it today still. And there was a time in my life where I didn't use it, and I ended up again, you know, so depressed and so this really helped me. But at the time of the kidnapping that morning, I didn't know he was gone yet. A friend of mine sent me a scripture, Psalm 91. And you know, I was so busy, but in my busyness with the kids hanging around, rushing to school, whatever, I saw this words of Psalm 91, and it said that angels will come around you and it will protect you. And you won't even bump your foot against a stone. You know, and there's a few other verses in there, but this is what really stood out for me. And she wrote, you know, own words after the psalm, and she said that, Lorna, I really feel like sending this to you today, and I feel like nothing is gonna happen to your family. No harm will come.
Now, do she always send you scriptures, or is
not so much?
Just came that day?
Just came at that day. And so I kind of read it and I felt it in my spirit. I just thought, all right, well, this is amazing. Yes, I take it. I thought it's for one of the kids. You know, we're always concerned about our kids for some reason. The husbands are like, can fend for themselves, right? And so little did I know what was lying ahead. So my family came to tell me that my husband had been kidnapped. The company phoned my brother-in-law. And when they came to my house and told me the news, this scripture immediately came up. And I felt like I had a choice. It was all happening within an instant. You know, it was seconds. I had all these people crying and this bad news, and you know, all the uncertainty and everything. It's crazy circumstances. But I realized I have this choice. Am I going to hold on to hope, or am I going to allow fear to control me? The fear of what if he's dead? What if we can't find him? What if, you know, and the fear side is a lot more real. You know, it's a lot more real. It's like in your face. I can see he's gone. I can see. I know he's not. I can hear them shoot. I hear him with my own ears screaming and begging. And, you know, these things are very real. And then every time this went on for 10 days.
10 days?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So for 10 days, 2 or 3 times a day, you go through these different calls. Sometimes they don't phone back. So you have to go for a day or two without knowing whether he's still alive or whatever. And in those moments, I had to constantly make the same choice again. Am I going to choose faith? It's not necessarily faith in God. For me, it was faith in God. But it's also positive thoughts. It's also to allow positive things in your mind. Things like, what if they do get him out? You know, so every time I think, he's dead. I heard him die. And then I can all of a sudden think, but what if he didn't die? You know? And then, but then I think, okay, but what if he dies? And then I can exchange that immediately with, but what if God provides for me? You know, what if I'm going to be okay? What if I can choose to believe that whatever comes my way, that I will be able to cope with it? What if? You know, I might not be able to cope with it, but what if I am?
Right.
And you know, and it sounds very stupid, really, actually, because it's not really logical to go and for every negative thought, go and specifically think something positive in
Right.
the
But,
place.
right.
But if we don't do that, like our minds completely run with the negative.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes we don't understand, like, why are we so tired?
Yeah.
Constantly tired and depressed. The Bible has a very beautiful scripture, and it says, hope defers makes the heart sick. Literally sick. You know? And I believe that. I believe that if your hope in tomorrow is taken away or weak, that causes depression. Absolutely.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get
I mean,
so depressed. But what we don't understand is that choosing hope is actually a physical action. It's actually something that we have to physically do and think, and it's not natural.
Right.
It just is not natural to think positive things. It's much more natural to think the worst and to talk about the worst. You know, it's a daily thing. I often hear people just, oh, you know, this corona, it's, you know, did you hear there's a fourth wave coming?
Yeah. I mean, now it causes anxiety, and you have to, you know, and even to the point where you'll see a lot of people stop reporting on the death, right? Because even that was just drooming, like, because all you just saw was death, you know what I mean? And I just felt like when it came time for they needed to report more on people surviving to give people hope, like you said, because they'll say, okay, if I do get it, I do have a chance of living. You know what I mean? It's not a death sentence.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had one of my very, very, very best friends. He actually led me to the Lord, and you know, he baptized me, and he's a very, very dear pastor friend of ours. And he died of COVID, and we didn't know that it was COVID. So immediately, I mean, I went to his house and sat with his wife. And when I was there already, you know, she said, well, they found out now that he died from COVID. And obviously the first thing that goes through your mind is, and this was in the beginning of COVID, and everybody was freaking out about COVID. And I mean, here I'm sitting in their house and he's died, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what now? It's like I want to stop breathing because I'm too scared. Oh, so I could feel that fear, like just wanting to consume me. And I mean, there was nothing I could do right there. I'm already in the house. I mean, she's devastated. So, you know, I supported her. I went home, and the ride home, I did this exact thing with my mind. You know, I'm like, every time these thoughts of fear want to consume me, I just deliberately think, well, what if I'm fine? You know, what if I didn't contract the virus? What if I'm going to be okay? And I got home and I sterilized everything. I washed my clothes, and it was a crazy time. And my husband took the kids into a different room. I dropped all my clothes downstairs and ran up naked, showered with hot water. Oh my gosh, I don't know. You know, we didn't. It was so bizarre. Now we're walking around in Florida, no masks.
Oh yeah,
it's fabulous. It's the same virus, you know. So all the fear that's once, you know, made us all think, oh gosh, we're all going to die. The world is going to come to an end. And I mean, it's not jokes. It's serious. People did die. I mean, we have family and friends who died. It's really, I understand the severity of it, but it's that fear of the future that really affects our lives, and it's that we have to take care of, and it's an active process. It's not just something that we can hear once and think, oh, okay, maybe I'll try it once. It's constantly. It's like every day. You've got to put positive thoughts into your mind and replace the negative, because otherwise it just goes on and on in your brain. And and I can honestly say, I mean, this is the kidnapping was a traumatic event. It was a once in a lifetime. I mean, this book is literally like reading a movie. It's insane. How we got him out is phenomenal. It's a whole story, and I mean, it's a must read.
The question was, did the FBI ever get involved?
Yeah, we had numerous people help us. This happened while we were still living in South Africa, and yeah, we had the special forces, secret services, the military. It was like in the movies. These people would sit in my house, and he would phone, and the recordings would be playing, and they would try and listen. Is there a helicopter flying over? Is there, to see in the background if they could figure out where he was, and all these things. People would come and analyze the recordings, and it was hard because I had to hear it over and over and over. So it was absolutely crazy. But neither my husband or myself actually had any post-traumatic trauma or stress after this, simply because we literally choose to replace our thoughts all the time. That's the one thing. It's like this choice between faith and fear, and forgiveness is a big thing. We went really all out and on our knees together, and we forgave each and every of the rebels who beat him so severely, who tried to kill him. At one stage they wanted to cut off his head and his arms. They killed women and children. They would just shoot into the buildings, shooting people, and we had to really just forgive him for that. And also his company that sent him in, into an area knowingly, but this is a dangerous area. And lots of people, came to our home, especially for me, people, and I'm sure a lot of people who has people dying can relate. People come and they try and help, but actually they sometimes say such offensive things.
Oh yeah. Just don't say nothing at all. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did you just hear yourself? What did you say to me? And I just had to realize, I just understood that they were there, they were trying to help. People don't know what to say in bad circumstances. They don't know. Everybody's nervous. Nobody knows what to do, how to react. It's not a normal thing, when people go through severe stress. And, it's a good thing to forgive someone. Even if they did say something really mean and offensive in a bad time, because they don't mean it. They're actually there to support. They're actually one of the ones that phoned to help. And maybe they said the wrong thing, but it's to see that there's actually love behind it, and not to listen to the words. But sometimes the words do get stuck in our minds, so we need to forgive.
Yeah.
And forgiveness, it's like, it will torment us, without us even knowing. And there's a lot of healing in forgiveness, a lot.
What made you want to turn your story and write a book? What was your inspiration behind it?
Yeah, I think we all have this purpose, this deeper purpose for living. And writing a book about it, in my opinion, the book is really, it really brings hope. Every single person who's read it, like, people phone me all the time. I get emails just about what it meant to them, and the hope that it instilled inside of them. And for me, it really makes it all worth it, everything that we've gone through. If I can leave a legacy of bringing hope. And I just feel like that is so amazing. Recently I owned a very, very large business in South Africa, aesthetic clinic and a day spa, and lots of businesses. I was a TV presenter, actress, and all kinds of things. And then with COVID, when COVID hit, because my husband was unable to fly out internationally for 18 months, we were in hard lockdowns in South Africa. No flying out, no international sport, nothing. He had no work.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
And even my business, it was closed. And in South Africa, we got no compensation. There was nothing, no government help, nothing. Especially for entrepreneurs. Some people who had employment at big companies got some, but mainly the, entrepreneurs, middle class people, there was nothing there. If your business was closed, it's closed.
Yeah.
So we literally lost everything
Wow.
over the course of 18 months. Everything that we'd ever worked for in 22 years is gone.
Right.
And the only thing that I had left was my story.
Right.
That was it. I had no money. I had nothing else left. The company that I worked for, the TV channel, closed down during COVID. They didn't even phone us until today. They didn't even give us an email or a letter or nothing. I actually heard it on the news. One of the other anchors, he phoned me like, "Did you hear we're unemployed?" I'm like, "What?" Yeah, we just didn't. They just closed down the channel. Anyway, anyway, and so that's all I had left was my story. And I thought, well, I always tell my kids, what do you have in your hands? What do you have that you can do something with? Because there's never nothing. Even if it feels like you have nothing, you never have nothing. So that's all I had was my story. Right. And I brought it to America, and that's a whole different story for another day, how we got here. We need like 10 episodes. But and how incredible is it, that I could take this and turn it into something that could bring hope and also provide a platform to me I can do motivational speaking. I do events, and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Did you find writing your book became therapeutic as well as you went back and wrote the story?
Definitely. Okay. It was very hard. It wasn't easy, especially because it was such a traumatizing time for us. Right. So it was hard writing the book, I have to say. But I totally believe that was part of my healing and part of therapy. My husband afterwards did go for counseling at a specialized therapist. She's absolutely specialized in trauma counseling. So he went for a lot of sessions because his work paid for it, so it was easy. But I'm just a small business owner.
Right.
That is expensive.
That's expensive. Yeah.
A lot of people can't afford that, and I've heard that often. Even if you can go for therapy, go. I totally believe in it. I totally believe that. And it's also a lot of people I find that go through traumatic events. They go to a therapist, and they didn't kind of feel anything in the first session or the second session, or they didn't gel with the therapist, or maybe she said something that they didn't like as much.
Right.
And then they just know, therapy doesn't work. No, it's just like a doctor. You just got to find the right one that can help you in your specific situation. So it really is good to keep trying and talk about it. It is not good to bottle it all up and think that it will go away. Right. It won't. Right. It won't.
Now, how about the kids? How are the kids handling, or how did they have to get counseling as well?
My kids at the time were quite small. Okay. The baby was 1, and the middle one was about 3, turning 4, and then the oldest were 6, turning 7, around about that age. The oldest one, obviously, I think she knew the most, but because I was able to handle my emotions very, very well, absolutely by the grace of God, really. There wasn't a lot of need for them because they were used to their father being away. At some stage, I did tell them that Daddy we can't find him. He's gone. He's working. He's at work, but they can't find him. They don't know where he is. Right. And then there was one night where my middle daughter came outside when I was on one of these calls, and all the people were there, all the special forces, and it was a really, really horrible call, and they shot, and I could just hear him die, and I lost the feeling in my legs. My legs just went away under me, and I fell on the floor, and I just cried in that moment, and I was just like crouching down on the floor with the phone on the side, and it was a horrible moment, and she had witnessed that. But yeah, we I talked them through it, and yeah, we helped them through it personally. But yeah, they were very small, so they didn't get any counseling at that time. We had a later incident in our lives, also in South Africa. Oh, it's a very high crime zone.
I see.
I'm glad to
Look, I'm checking it out. I don't even want to go there now. Like,
oh my gosh. Anyway, we had a home invasion, and while we were sleeping, people came in, armed robbers, and that event was very, very traumatic, and especially for my kids. They were a lot older, and for that, yes, we did get counseling.
wow.
And I did take the kids for counseling, and also my middle daughter doesn't actually speak easily. She doesn't like to share her feelings, and something that again helped for her is to write them down. And it's actually something that one of the counselors said, like, okay, if she doesn't want to talk, let her write down what she's feeling. And I must say, she's quite good with writing. So yeah, if counseling and speaking about things are not really your thing, try and write it down.
Right.
But make the time. I think the big thing is not to think that when traumatic events happen in your life, that it will just go away by itself.
Right.
It really doesn't. It's something that one has to work on mentally. And if you're not able, is to get the help you need. And I'm not against medication. I feel like if someone needs medication, that is very, very important. But don't just take the medication and think now it will go away.
Right.
Because again, it is not something that just goes away. And people also experience trauma completely different. For me, it was a kidnapping, a home invasion. I've been hijacked. My car has been stolen. Guns against my head a few times. That is traumatic things. I've lost my home. I've lost my business. These are all traumatizing things. But for someone else, a first day at elementary school could really be traumatizing.
Oh, yes.
They could really be so scared, and it could really be something that affects them. For middle school kids, it could be an event where they're really being bullied, or someone said something really, really mean to them, and it really is traumatizing to them. So there are different levels of trauma, and one shouldn't just let it pass by and think, it's life, deal with it. You have to deal with it for sure. Deal with it, but it's not going to go away by itself.
That's true. That's true. So you're selling the book. Where can people find the book and purchase it?
Yeah, well, it's available on all the normal internet links and channels, Amazon and Barnes and Noble, Apple Books. There's a whole list, but I think all the different suppliers, they can just Google it, Kidnapped, a True Story by Lorna Greyling. And on Amazon, it was also awarded the #1 new release.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay, thank you. And it's on Kindle and soft copy, and on Amazon, it's also on hard copy if they want that. And then I have a website, so if you need a motivational speaker for any function, I've done lots of different, even corporate, I do various different topics. I speak about raising kids. Trauma obviously is my specialty. But yeah, I also do women's groups where I speak about how to dress, wardrobe, all kinds of fun things. So whatever they need, it's on my website.
Now, do you see yourself, one more question before you leave, do you see yourself writing any more books?
Well, definitely. I definitely have to. I think so many people have actually told me. I've had over 100 people say, you've got to write another book, literally. And I will. I think I just want to make a success of this one first. Seeing that it's there now, finally.
Yes.
And my passion is to make a movie, with it. I think it will be an extraordinary film. Besides the fact that it's a very exciting story, mind-blowing how everything happened, it really is something that will bring hope. There's so much in the book that I have no time to share, but powerful times where God just showed up mightily. and pulled us through amazing situations in such supernatural ways that it really shows that, you know, he is so real. God is so real. We are not alone in this world, and that is so wonderful to know that, you know, you are never alone. You don't have to struggle alone. So for me, that helped a lot.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming and telling your story. And, you know, I just think my hats go off to you to be able to live through that event and just be a strong woman and being able to come out and tell your story and still be positive about it. Because it's like you said, a lot of people, that kind of pressure, trauma, they would have, you know, they probably couldn't take it, you know what I mean? And for you to still remain positive and still, you know, want to get your story out, I just thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. And if I can change one or two people's lives and bring them a little bit of hope, you know, it's all worth it. So for me, I'm very blessed.
All right. Thanks for stopping past. And I enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you.
All right. Let me stop.
Divas, we get the dough. The hustle, the hustle, the hustle, the hustle.